Blog Talk Radio.
The motherfucking saga continues.
Yo, what's up, world? It's badass thuggin' like I usually do, and you better turn it up, bust some speakers out, cause we off the motherfucking cuff. You dig how we do it? Dog Pound Gangsters 2000 and beyond. Bleh.
What's up with it, John? Man, don't change that down. This your player partner, the legendary Cocaine. And you tuned in live to Off the Cuff Radio. Better not touch that down.
Yeah, this is Cassidy, the hustler. And right now, you listening to the Guillotine. Show them the respect they deserve, man. Off the Cut Radio, man. Y'all already know how they doing it, man. I need y'all to stay tuned. They've been doing it for years, so show them the respect they deserve. And you heard it out of bars, mouth. Easy.
Keep it moving like this. Yo, this your boy Rampage. You're not rocking with the best. With Off the Cuff Radio. Classic. History. Fix your face to all you haters. We off the cuff, baby.
What's up, everybody? This your girl, Bonnie Dollars, the Queen of Trap, representing Crenshaw, and you are now tuned in with Off the Cuff Radio. What's up? What's up, y'all? This is Miss Irresistible, giving a shout out to the livest show on Friday nights, Off the Cuff Radio, and I'm live from the 704. Make sure y'all tune in for the blazing hot music.
What it ain't, what it do. It's Chili Chill from that original Lynch Mob. And Off the Cuff Radio, always where it's at on Friday nights. West, y'all.
Yeah. What it is, this your man King Eric, the media assassin. You're now tuned in episode 547 of Off the Cuff Radio, where you get your dope exclusive interviews, good content. And this show is sponsored by Buddy Boy Entertainment, Da Vinci Clothing, sponsored by Fleetwood and the Cop Picker, Screwball Radio, Jesse Boutique, Core Financial. Got my whole T-Max with the facts on the line. What's good, my brother?
What is going on, y'all? It's another fantastic Friday on that incredible frequency of fresh, known as OTC. I am your co-host, T-Max. Shout out to our co-host on Spirit, Ella Artisan, Man, Lady Chinchilla, and of course, King is your pilot on the first class of all things fast. Man, look, King, we have another fantastic super show tonight. Our guest tonight is one of the most legendary luminaries of the adult industry, of course retired now. She is engaging, she is energetic, she is exciting, she is so smart, sweet, and sensational, and magnificently marvelous in her queenness, regal royalty. And when we reached out to her, she was just so with it in terms of being able to sit down with us and detail her whole history from the past to right now. So she is going to give us all the goods in terms of the glamorous life behind the flashing lights, of everything that goes on set and offset, with the camera being the consummate sweetheart that she is. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the one, the only, super sensational Sierra Devi. What's going on, lady?
Oh my God! I'm like, okay, I'm looking around, going, who? I have no idea who this person is. Oh my God! You're like, who the hell is he talking about? Oh my God!
Hey, we had to put you over like $1 million. We had to put you over like $1 million.
I mean, there was a camera on me right now. I'm like, wow. There must be another girl behind me. There's like 25 other girls behind me. Come on.
Queen.
Nah, we put that light on you.
Queen, you are one of one. You are the most.
Or in front of me, I should say. So. Where's my award? Damn it.
Man, look. We got what you want. We got the Tony, Oscar, Golden Globe, MTV, AVN, BET.
Got all that.
You guys are hilarious. You guys are hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Man,
how are you doing this fine Friday?
Man, Queen, we are great. As I said, we are just so humbled and so, proud to have you on our show. I mean,
you're gonna make me feel all fancy.
Look, go
I'm
ahead.
to pull out my diamonds and go sit at a bar somewhere. Stop it.
And the shot glasses.
Look, get that
Jesus
glow on.
Christ.
Well, get that glow on with your look. You
all do know how to make a girl feel good, don't you?
We learn from the best. we look,
not me.
look from the skin flick to just growing up in terms of being raised. We always there's that Southern charm that we always try to utilize. I mean, you're everything energetic. You're an entrepreneur. You're elegant, exciting. There are other superlatives that we could use, but it wouldn't, appropriately and accurately describe your dynamite black girl magic. We are just so happy to have you with us.
Yeah, there's layers behind the story.
I spent my time in the South too, so I also know how to put on the charm.
Look, absolutely. We know, if anything, you know how to put it down in all ways that are just profound. Like we do about this time. Obviously, your history is decorated and distinguished. Your fame is just otherworldly, galactically great and glorious. But before all of that,
oh God, I have to figure out who this person is he is talking about. Because I think you have to seriously.
Hey, it's the one on the flyer.
Yes,
it's the one on the $1 million flyer I set up.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
no, it was just it was the lean years. I was almost a chitlin circuit, huh?
Yeah. Look, and shout out to everybody who's tuning in, man. Look, we see all y'all out there. Sierra, thank you for posting. We definitely got a lot of attention for it, and we can't wait. Because one thing about it on Off the Cuff, for those that are tuning in who may have not heard us who may have not heard us before and are listening for the first time, one thing about it is we want to get to the heart of any guest we have, about who they are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
We're here for the history, and you have a lot of it. We'll try to get all of this in 2 hours.
Yeah, I do.
But look, we'll say this in advance because we always usually say this at the end of the show. You're already welcome back because I think this is going to be something sensational that part one just will not suffice. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, that's why we got sequels, sweetheart. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Me, I don't know. A little bit about me? I don't know.
Yes,
what do you want to know? I figure everybody knows everything about me by now. They just have to look me up. Let's see. I started in the business in, 90? I think I started in the business in 97, but I was already dancing. I started dancing actually I started dancing in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
During the whole Freaknik thing, so.
Oh wow!
But,
okay.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was there when Freaknik started.
Oh man.
Literally.
Wow.
Yeah, before that it was Jack the Ripper and all that. Yeah, I used to dance for. Yeah, I did a lot of that way before I got into actually being on, film and stuff. But yeah, I started off. Actually, I literally started off Jack the Ripper. That was because one of my first things outside of the strip club was dancing with 2 Light Crew. So yeah.
Okay.
I go back a little bit further than some people know.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was a long time ago.
Well, you think of Jack the Rapper.
That was around that time.
That was like, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
y'all
remember Jack
you had
the
to be
Rapper,
outside.
right?
Oh yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Whole lot of it.
That was
Whole lot. We heard this.
Yeah,
we heard the stories with the interviews we've done with a lot of people. They tell us about the wild stories that went down over there, and also it was a great circuit for artists to network and get their stuff out.
And all that. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. Jack the Rapper was wild. That was like the beginning of just like the combination of strippers and rappers.
What was it like?
Literally.
What was it like during that time, Sierra? Because, of course, this is going into a period where, of course, Luke and JD, Jermaine Dupri, shout out to both of those legends. This coincides perfectly with you being with us tonight. This perfectly coincides also, too, with the documentary with Freaknik that is upcoming. But, of course, like you said, you and King
were talking
about Jack the Rapper.
They're doing a documentary on Freaknik? Ooh.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I think I destroyed. I'm pretty sure I destroyed some of those videos. They were all on VHS. But oh my God! No, seriously, no. Freaknik was exactly what it sounded like.
What was it like doing that? What was it like during that time?
Wow, that was like when Atlanta was really just like, because we had gone from just like a country little town, and we would tell people you're from Atlanta, and they'd be like, oh, you're from the country or something, and then like, oh, we like to come down there and party. So just like, that's when all like the rappers started showing up, and then we started having Southern rappers, and of course before at that time, as everyone probably knows, a lot of the strip clubs in Atlanta at the time, that's when they first started really blowing up.
Yeah.
And becoming just like where you needed, if you wanted to get known, you needed to be in one of the strip clubs. You needed to be dancing at either like Magic City or Purple Onion or Blue Flame or.
What about the Gold Club?
Well, those are the black clubs, and then there was the Gold Club, and I got lucky enough to dance there for a while.
But those that know
the
about
infamous
the Gold
Club.
Yeah. We gonna talk it up.
Oh my God. That was a really fun ride. I'm not gonna lie. That was a fun ride.
Now we're not gonna. Now, for those that don't know, because on Off the Cuff we give you all this trivia too, and we're not, gonna put you on, we're not gonna put you on the investigative seat about it. This is just in general. For those that don't know,
I had nothing to do with it. I just happened to be I think I just got fired when everything went down.
Okay, so
I had nothing to do with that, but I knew about it.
So, yeah. So what she's alluding to and what I'm about to say, y'all, this has to do in around 1995, 96, where there's a federal investigation with the Gold Club at the time, where it involves a lot of NBA players. Patrick Ewing. I can only say this on air because these are players that were summoned there because, there was a whole bunch of stuff going on in terms of players receiving sexual favors, all types of shit. Patrick Ewing, a few others.
News, so it's a fact.
Yeah, it was in the news.
It was literally in the news. It was a fact.
Yeah. So it was.
Yeah.
So we were like bugged out because we're like, yo, growing up time, we all shorties, we young niggas. So it's like we heard the stories about Freaknik. And you could give us the history on this. Yeah. Sierra, you could give us the accuracy on this because the story is that Freaknik started by some college kids who went to Morehouse and a couple of other schools that couldn't afford to go home. They're from D.C. Okay,
absolutely
right. That's how it started.
Yeah.
All right, so that's how it started.
That's how it started. It was literally only that first year it started, like I remember, it was literally just only for college kids. And it was only for the college kids, like Morehouse. And then, of course, they all went to the strip club. So, of course, we were all in there, too. But it was literally for those kids who couldn't afford to leave Atlanta. And so they made Atlanta their place to party, and they would take over, like, 2 or 3. It started off with, like, 2 or 3 streets. And then it moved its way from what was that? What highway is that? It moved its way from the west side over to, like, it just literally took over Atlanta over the end. And then I guess at some point I don't know if I was still there when they finally. By the time they got to the point that they just stopped it, it wasn't the Freaknik that I knew, because it was just buck wild. But that first year, it was kind of tame. It was a great thing, and then it just went like Florida had nothing on Freaknik.
Man, look, listen.
Oh man,
listen.
I mean, I can't look. I'm just glad the internet didn't exist then, because even I would be embarrassed. So,
oh wow.
We had a lot.
That's why they feel the sort of way with this doc coming out. Cause they don't.
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people feel the sort of way, because they like, man, the activities that we were into. All you gotta say, we were just wild and young. That's the best way you can go ahead and put it.
We were just being wild and young, and we just had 1 week to be as wild and young and do as much stupid, crazy, whatever you want the fuck to do. Out in the middle of the damn street. Don't even go to somebody's house. Just in the middle of the street. And yeah, then it got too wild because, you know, everybody from every other state started coming, and it got really big and it got ridiculous. But not that it wasn't ridiculous from the second year, but first year was tame though. I remember that first year.
Well, you figure.
But
you
yeah,
figure
first year is pretty.
Yeah, you figure in 1990 when it started. No, you're good. It's just, you know, but yeah, because we all on the same page of enthusiasm, you know, just talking about a story. Now, you know, we're young at the time, so in earnest, Freaknik starts around
so you have to remember, I was
1990.
also in college at the time. I wasn't at a BBC or at HMU, but I was in college at the time. So I'm just riding along with everybody else, you know.
Right.
So yeah, that was when it first started. Yeah.
Yeah, so you figure during this time. Now it's crazy because when we look at the entertainment industry, to give it further context, this is Luke. Shout out to Uncle Luke, of course, of Two Live Crew, Fresh, rest in peace. You know, all the whole crew. You know, so in the 90s, of course, everybody knew Miami in terms of the bass music. You know what was going on with that scene. You know, of
MTV
course, you know, shout out
was
to
down there.
Yeah. Shout out to, you know,
remember,
DJ,
I'm sorry, not
the Spring Break.
Yeah, MTV.
Yeah,
Pauly Shore when he was hosted out in Daytona Beach, you know, Fort Lauderdale, and this is where
there were no black people.
Right. No black people.
No black people though.
Yeah, man.
Now you just saw mostly the rock and roll audience over there at the Spring Break joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Beavis and Butthead crowd.
Man, this is before Beavis and Butthead premieres, because that was like a cartoon short that started, I believe, in like 1991, 92. Shout out to Matt Judge, the creator, of course, of King of the Hill as well. So, you know, of course, Beavis and Butthead, the cartoon, would actually go into syndication production, I believe, in late 1992, early 1993. So when we're looking at this time of giving it context, Spring Break was more universal, but like you said, it was really more catering to the white audience, which is fine. You know, shout out to our white brothers and sisters. But when we saw, it was
really more, we just didn't have the money. Our parents, I mean, we were all trying to be the Cosby family at that time, and our parents were down for the first time sitting. I mean, you have to remember, it's the early 90s. This is probably the biggest influx of black kids going to college at the time and got money to spend.
It's a different world. Yeah,
so you have to remember that the economics is finally like turning in our favor. So, but we weren't quite there yet. So, you know, we started Freaknik. And Freaknik, I mean, because even the mayor like endorsed it like the first year or so. I remember that. But
Maynard
Jackson, then it just got like Buck. Yeah. Oh my God, I've heard that name like forever. But I started in the business like around then. Well, actually, no, I'd already been in the business for a minute by then. Well, I was a dancer because back then in Atlanta, like I said, it was easy to be undercover dancer, and everybody knew dancers made money, but you didn't talk about it. You never told anybody that you were dancing. Because then they look down on you. So, you just didn't talk about it. Not like now where everyone's like, oh, yeah, I'm a dancer. Let's do this. No, you just never did. You didn't mention it. You just tell them you're just paying for school. And then you actually pay for school on the side. But
that's what it was. But this is a time, too, where we're looking at it, Sierra and King. This is a time where we're looking at it from, like you said, Sierra, about the reference to, the different worlds. Of course, that show influenced a generation of, black kids to go to school at HBCU. So now we're looking at it now. This is also the time, of course, Luke laid the foundation, and now we're going into this era of Atlanta is slowly but, surely becoming the destination, the black Mecca. Shout out Kid Money and Black Pack, Uncle Head, Q Dog, the whole crew. This is where Atlanta is becoming the music Mecca. Well, the music Mecca. They already had the sports teams, of course, in the 90s with the Braves, the Falcons, Deion Sanders coming out of Florida State. He's killing it down in with the Falcons. It's LaFace Records, Babyface and L.A. Reid. They're already moving. They got everything based down there.
And I hate to say this.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I hate to say this, but it was also it was basically this. Okay, so we're all the kids of the second migration. So I wasn't actually born in Atlanta. You mentioned something to me earlier today, and I thought it was kind of funny. I think it was something in Detroit, movie I did, because I was actually
one of the
born
first
in Michigan.
videos.
Though I never, one of my first videos. So I was actually born in Michigan, though I never lived there until I was a grown up. But I had migrated from Ohio to Atlanta, and at that time in the late 80s, early 90s, the Reagan years, everybody was all black people were moving from the north to Atlanta, especially from New York.
Right.
So you had all that influence, and that really started to influence Atlanta. So because it was a lot cheaper to live down there, and you could get like a huge house. And, oh my God, I hate to sound so damn grown right now, but
it's okay. No, because we heard the story about
it was the migration. And I was part of that migration because I was coming from like Shaker Heights, Ohio to Atlanta. And, all of a sudden you have this influx of like a whole lot of black people who are not living out in the country, they're living in the city. And these people now can afford for all their kids to go to college, to like, now they can, it's not poverty, so much of a poverty thing anymore. Because remember at that time, New York was not the place to be.
Right.
Because the crime was like really high in New York at that time. And people were just trying to get away, to be honest. New York, Pennsylvania, people were just trying because before, if you were black, you didn't make it up there. And people were just trying to get away. And so like I think a lot of creative people who we talk about today, when I think about it, I think about Outkast, because I remember hanging out with them when I was a kid. And
oh wow!
But I didn't know they were going to end up being Outkast, and they probably didn't even know who I was at the time either, because I wasn't anybody then. I was just some kid hanging out. But because I also grew up in College Park too.
Oh man!
So
Oh wow! So what was it like in terms of that music scene? Because we're seeing Sierra, we're seeing all like, of course, Jermaine Dupri has the world record in music, because he brings these two kids out, with the baggy clothes dressing backwards, Chris Kelly and Chris Smith, known as Chris Cross, on So Def. He starts it, but this is and people get a lot, and Jermaine Dupri gets a lot of flack, but I tell anybody, when people got to understand what he did with that album, he is still to this day the youngest producer at 17 years old to produce a platinum-selling record.
That's pretty crazy.
We haven't seen that since. To be 17 years old and
about Atlanta at that time when you were coming to, especially if we had a family that migrated to Atlanta at the time, because most of us didn't originate there.
Got you.
Like it surprises me now that it's like Hollywood over there, but. You have that. You have suddenly your parents have the money to give you the life that they wanted to give you. Where up north, you had to spend so much money, and now we have time to be creative. Though my creativity went a whole nother way than my parents were thinking, but it's so funny because a lot of times I always hear people. When I did finally make it to California, they're like, "Oh, so did you want to be an actress?" I'm like, "No, it was never my plan."
And we're going to get to that too. We're going to get to that too about the motivations with a lot of women who get in that industry. But go ahead, please.
But yeah, it was just that was the time where, and I say this because, especially when I watch things like Grownish, and it makes me think so much of A Different World. We are those kids coming into our own finally and being able to do whatever the hell we want to do. And Atlanta is growing. If you notice, Atlanta was a growing ground for a lot of us. We go, oh yeah, we were in Atlanta, but you'll notice a lot of us didn't actually originate there. We migrated there, and it was just it just became this really great place to be, whoever you wanted to be, if you were willing to work hard enough to do it.
Now,
and sometimes it takes a lot.
I mean, now, being around Outkast with Andre Benjamin and Andre Patton, Big Boy and Andre 3 Stacks, respectively, you all were at the same high school. What was because we've always seen, King,
so we
myself.
weren't in the same high school. We were not
okay,
in the same
y'all were
high
not
school.
the same high school. Okay, got
we
it.
lived in the same neighborhood, and we hung out around the same people. So I found myself a lot of times in the middle of the night, like, leaving home and spending nights sitting in, if you know anything, you all know music. Sometimes you're sitting in the studio with people all night long and you don't realize what time it is, and you just listen to artists go in and out all the time. And I did a lot of that as a kid, just sitting there and, like, people going, oh, you should be on this track. And I'm like, I'm not really into music, but I like listening, and I don't really want to, that's not my dream. That's your dream, but it's cool, and I just want to sit here and listen. So, yeah, I did a lot of that as a kid, just sitting around, like, a lot of rappers, a lot of, like, I guess I would call them, I guess they were gangsters. I don't know. But, I mean, it was College Park. And, I mean, at that time, as people also don't realize, College Park had expanded because the airport at the time had bought all this land.
Jackson
and
Hartsfield,
so, which a lot of people don't. Have people told you about this?
No, ma'am. No, we're getting exclusive. Go ahead.
Well, the airport had bought all this land, and they were giving, like, all these houses away for, like, $1, so you could, like, get a really nice house and move it over to College Park.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of people, a lot of families, especially black families, and you can get a lot of land. So that's why you hear so many black. I'm sorry. What? I'm not giving you enough attention. That's my dog. But that's why you always hear about, like, a lot of black families coming out of New York. I mean, out of Atlanta, because houses were just. But it wasn't just that. It was a lot of things. Atlanta started expanding. And it just became a great place for an opportunity to just become something. So, I lost my train of thought of that because my dog barked at me. Darn it, you.
It's okay.
It's all good. It's all good. The dog is still in the
We're going to pick it up. Look, but Sierra, you mentioned, too, with the New York migration, of course. I mean, when you talk about what was going on at the time, this is before, I think, right around Rudy Giuliani becomes mayor, and he's beginning to start his cleanup on, like, 42nd Street and all that. But then there's also, at this time, one of the most notable migrations. There were two, actually, for those that know their hip-hop history. One, shout out to Uncle Too Short, from the Bay, in Oakland. He moved to Atlanta. And, of course, the other was Eric Sermon from EPMD when he moved down to Atlanta and opened Peachtree Motors in terms of the rim shop, for those who remember that as well.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, shout out to, Freedman Shoes, Mr. Harvey down there, rest in peace. I met him years ago when I went there, my family. Shout out to Gene Upshaw, rest in peace. I met him as well. I mean, Lennox Mall, Greenbrier. I mean, it was just,
oh, my God. You just named, like, those are my haunts right there. Lennox Mall, Greenbrier. Oh, my God. Yeah, people forget that. Back then, everybody, you were somebody with money and you were black. You came to Atlanta to spin it. Because our strip clubs were not just, okay, so here's the thing I always tell people, and I think it's always funny to me. Everyone thinks of, when you think of a strip club and you think of a dancer, you think of them just like doing, lap dances and just like grinding and getting their freak on and all that. And you're about to get off in the VIP room. Where Atlanta wasn't actually like that.
Okay.
They had a touch and go policy, and the more money you spend, the less touch you got to go. But it was a touch and go policy kind of thing. Whereas Florida was just like buck wild. They did all kinds of things. But if you got to Atlanta, you couldn't do that. But the black clubs found ways to get around a lot of the rules. But they still weren't as racy as you think they were. It was just more that there were a lot of like rappers and singers and musicians and everybody in there. So they just got really live. That was a place to be seen. And it wasn't just a place to be seen for men. It was a place to be seen if you were on a date.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not unusual to be a Saturday night, nothing but couples.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you had to have good, and also the rule in Atlanta, the law was you had to have your food bill had to match your liquor bill. So their food had to be good too.
Yeah. We have that here with the same ordinance in Virginia with the clubs, that you have to match up. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to be, there was more coordination back then.
Yeah.
So you had to be pretty good. You had to serve good food, you had to have good entertainment, and then you got everybody coming in, so yeah.
But also too,
that's how I started off.
Yeah, but you figure also too, Future, for those that have not seen it, it's a few years old, but Gentleman's GQ, I actually saved it on my hard drive because I found it so interesting. I'll send that to you, Sierra, when we get off the air because I don't know if you've seen it or not. But it was like a thing that they did about how like some of the modern artists, Future was the most featured in it, but they talked about how for a music artist to get down in Atlanta to get known, that's how you got your music out. You were in a strip club. You got to play in a strip club, and that's how you got your name out there.
Well, it was a lot different back then too because people understand even when you in the South, you got to get your record played. You had to go directly to these clubs and make friends with the owner. You got to go inside and get that record played and make sure everybody the DJ played it. Anybody had to slip them a couple of keys.
And then you still got to bribe the dancer to dance to it.
Yeah, the dancers.
She's like, I got my own playlist. What are you gonna pay me to do it? It's a whole lot. There's a whole lot of people you got to go through. It's not just like walking in with your demo. So.
We had to let people know that. Yeah, we had to let people know that. See, it was a little easier back then. It was in L.A. because you had Sony headquarters, you had Interscope, you had Universal. You could just go and just put your tape in there, or put the CD in there like that. Or in New York, it was the same thing. But down south, you had none of that. You had to go to all these Chitlin circuits.
Yeah. Okay, see, you just said what I was saying. I was like, I feel like I was even when I started branching out from being a dancer, I felt like I was on the Chitlin circuit. That's exactly what it feels like. I mean, I literally knocked on doors, literally. So this is a meager beginning.
And this is the perfect segue, Sierra, because we want to get into that history. See, I told you this show is going to be so sensational. We're going to need 2 parts to do. We have to have you on again for part 2. But we're going to get as much of part 1 out the way as we can now. So in the 90s, of course, before you get into the adult industry, there's already kind of, you already have actors and actresses going back to the 70s, of course, with Desiree West, who's considered one of the first to break through. Of course, Ebony Eyes, were coming to game in 1982. Jeannie Pepper were coming to game in 1984.
Ebony Eyes was like my favorite, and Jeannie Pepper.
She's all of our favorite, sweetheart. Yes, absolutely.
Dominique Simone.
She would come later, absolutely, yes.
Or did she come later? She came later, okay.
Yeah, Purple Passion, of course, on the male side, you had Tony L.A., Field Marshal Bradley, Jimmy D, Shawn Michaels would break in. Once again, another New York native, from Brooklyn. He would come in the game in 88. Heather Hunter's from New York. She would come in 88, I believe, too. And she was the first contracted black performer for Vivid Video. You know, shout out to Stephen Hirsch.
Yes, she was.
So we're seeing the nascent beginnings. Of course, Janet Jackney and all, you know, that Janet Jackney and all of them would be, you all would kind of intersect in terms of your career in terms of the 90s. So we're not in that place yet because porn is still kind of somewhat of an underground phenomenon in the 80s and 90s. So of course, going into the mid 90s, we're kind of beginning to see it bubble a little bit, and that is where you come in. Tell us how you made your pilgrimage to California in terms of what motivated you and how, because you and me talked off air about this, and you had to face some challenges. But we want to. Yeah, go ahead.
I literally did the whole, I'm going to take my suitcase and get on a Greyhound bus and go to California, and I'm going to be a porn star.
Oh, wow. Like, what was the motivation? How did it happen? I mean, because in the 90s, that was like something that was, it's not like a phenomenon.
Oh, my God. It was not a cool thing to say at all. It was, people were like, what the fuck are you thinking? And I was like, but this is what I want to do. I'm already having fun. But, I mean, it was more than that. It was, honestly, one day I realized, I was like, you know, I'm having fun being a dancer. This is great. I make really great money. I'm enjoying my life. I don't want this to end. I don't want to be the old bitch on the pole. That was my motivation. I did not want to be the old bitch on the pole.
Got you. Yeah, we've seen a few of those.
You see mother and daughters on the pole at the same time sometimes. So I'm like, no, we're not gonna be that. We can't do that. No, we can't. We can't go out like that. I actually went to college. We can't go out like that. So
it ain't gonna be like in the Players Club where that old chick was like, there's some hoes in this house and they don't do something. They're like, boom. And said, fuck y'all. Which ironically,
unfortunately, it don't come with a pension plan.
That is true.
The really funny thing is every time I've watched that movie, I'm like, were they like being a day in my fucking life right now? That movie is so true. That there's so much about that movie is absolutely right.
Shout out to Ice Cube, man, when he did that. Shout out to Cube.
So much about that movie that was right.
Yeah, because nobody really took an angle on.
If you worked at a black club.
Yeah, exactly. But for real, y'all, and to our audience out there, I remember in 1998 when that movie first premiered. It was the summer of '98. I believe it was June.
Yeah.
And it was the old AMC Theater out in Norfolk by Military Circle Mall. Rest in peace to both of them. So, mind y'all, this is like opening day. This is not even the nighttime. This is early in the daytime. It's like in the 12 o'clock. So, me and my cousin, we both are trying to see it. Now, I got my ticket early, and he initially couldn't get in because the theater had sold out. So somebody happened. But I'm going to tell you what happened. Somebody just so happened that they refunded their ticket, so he was able to get in. So we both got in to see it.
Drop it.
Look, when I tell y'all that theater was jammed, you got to think a movie theater packs about if you're full around maybe 300 people. There was 350 people in there.
Wow. I don't remember.
It was
I actually don't remember when I saw it. It was a great movie. No, it was honestly. It was. I'll be honest with you all. It was more of a documentary than people thought. It was very, even down to the relationships and things that happened in the club when you work in a club like that. It was very much like that, and it reminded me of my first day working at the Blue Flame. So I was like, yep, that's exactly what happened. But I get this a whole lot because people are like, oh, you always do white things and not black things. But at the time, there were so many different clubs, and Atlanta had all these different clubs at the time, and you had white and you had black clubs. And I was fortunate enough because I had big boobs that I could work in both. Because they just did not hire black girls in white clubs back then. I actually literally had someone, this is such a great story. So.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to tell you, this is such a great story.
No, go ahead, please.
So, this is like, I don't know if it was like 95, 96, I can't remember. But I'm going to go work as a cheetah. And I just tell you, I was like, I love working in the club I'm at, but it's just too much work. Because when you work at a black club, you really have to work for your money. You gotta bend over, go over backwards, do flips, and they would give you $1. I'd be like, God damn it, my feet hurt. How do I just do the Gold Club box? Come on, y'all. Do I really have to work this hard for $1? You had to actually, back then, you had to actually call the club and ask for an interview. And you had to audition, and you ended up. Then you had to go get a license for the club and everything. So it was a lot of work just to get a job at any club.
Oh wow!
And I had called this club. Oh yeah, and they would check your references too at any other club you had been at.
Oh man,
so,
they were thorough.
Yeah, you couldn't just like walk into a club and like I'm gonna strip, and you didn't know. And even if you were new, they would make you like go through the process of going through the amateur test, the amateur show first.
Amateur night
before they would decide amateur night before they would decide if they were going to hire you.
Right.
And then once you get hired, you also have to keep a certain weight, or you get fired. So
man, that's crazy.
It was really, especially Gold Club. Gold Club was real notorious for it. So I get hired over the phone, and I'm talking to her, and as everybody knows, I kind of sound like a valley girl. So nothing I can do about it. And I really sound like a valley girl then. And so I tell her my name, and she just automatically assumes I'm a white girl. And she's like, oh, great, you can come in. We really need a big boob white girl. And actually, she didn't say white girl. She was looking for my shape because I described to her what my size was and the shape of my body, because you had to do that. And she's like, show up at a certain time. And you know what? You could even work that same day if you want to, if you have costumes ready and everything, because you had to have costumes and sequins and everything. And I'm like, oh, she's like, oh, go ahead and you had to get a license too. You had to have a license for every club you worked at.
Gotcha.
And I get there, and I'm all ready to work, and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm going to work night shift, which is the best shift ever. And I walk in the door, and I go, hi, I'm Sierra. And she looks at me. I've never seen a white woman's face drop so fast. Her jaw literally hit the floor. And she goes, oh, you're Sierra? I was like, yeah. She goes, oh, well, we only allow one black girl per shift because, we don't really do your music. And I go, what is my music? You don't know what kind of music I listen to.
Man, that's crazy.
And she goes, well, our crowd doesn't really cater to you. So how about we try you out for a half day, half of the lunch, and then half of the evening, and you can work half shifts, but you can't work a full night. So that was the kind of stuff when you lived in Atlanta back then you had to deal with. That's why I said I was very lucky to work at the Gold Club. Just didn't get into white clubs.
But it's crazy though, Sierra, because we all talked off the air. You and me talked about because we haven't even gotten into the industry yet. But even then, a lot of times people don't understand the racism that goes on, and that because of preconceived notions. So I'm like, if you went through that and you're just dancing, I mean, because it brings to mind another story with another star. Yeah, Africa Sex, because she was from Northern California. She was from Stockton, for those for our listeners.
I haven't heard of it. Okay, so you finally pulled a name that I know. I haven't spoken to her in years. Oh my God, how is she? Anyway, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, no. I mean, but I know her story because she had said it was the same thing she had dealt with when she was a dancer, and they were trying to say her boobs were too big and she was fat, and you know, when she had gotten in the game, you know, of course, because Africa, I believe, came in the game around maybe, 2001, 2002. So there's a lot, for a lot of our listeners out there, there's more to this game, you know, from the dancing and then, you know, the horizontal, you know, freak gymnastics in the industry that people don't really understand in terms of what goes on behind the back door in terms of the placements, conceived notions. You're talking about your demographics.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot. So, so pretty much, obviously, you succeed in, like you said, you manage to break through, and then you go to California. Now, this is the 90s.
I went to California,
Yeah. So what was it like in terms of what was the process back in the day for just women in general trying to get into the industry?
So I go to California, and literally, I'm not lying, I literally did the whole Grey Headlights thing, but it was one of those things where I was just trying to be a feature dancer, and I was already having a very exciting personal life, and I was like, okay, what the hell? They were like, okay, we can't give you more money as a feature unless you start doing this, even though most girls were only doing magazines. And I was like, you know what? I'm single. What the hell? I'll do it. So I did my very first movie was in Atlanta, actually. It was on the Sierra.
Okay.
That was my very first movie because I remember that very well. Poorly shot. Everything about it was awful, but that was the moment I realized I like doing this. That was I liked being in front of the camera. That was fun, and I could do that again, and I don't mind, but I need to get paid for it.
Hey, it's business.
So,
this is Heyman Gang over here.
So
we King and B. We're about business too. Yeah, this is money. Go ahead.
I was like, yeah, I love doing this, but I need to get paid for it. So then I'm working at the Cheetah. I was working at the Cheetah, and I meet this guy who's like, okay, if you want to, because at the time I was already modeling for magazines, so I've been on the cover of a few magazines at that point. Blacktail, all of the other, I've been on the cover of all of those. But the white magazines wouldn't take me, and the white clubs wouldn't take me. So they were like, you need better credits in magazines. And I was like, well, I'm a dancer, but they're like, well, before we book you as a star, we need better credits. I'm like, okay, what do you need? And they're like, okay, why don't you try doing porn? I'm like, you know what? What the hell? Let's try it. It looks like fun. I'm not dating anybody. I like sex, and I really don't mind the hell. I've done Freaknik, so unfortunately you all didn't see the cameras for that one.
Man,
did I lose you?
It's the childhood memories that we missed.
Seriously, Freaknik might have had a lot to do with this now that I'm thinking about it, because, man, I did some stuff in public, but I'm like, oh, hell, I'm having fun. And I meet this couple that is doing, it was called what was the name of that? Like, Grandfather something, or I don't know. It was some country bullshit. Anyway, it was some country. It was some country people that were really into S&M, and they were like, "Oh, we would love to shoot your boobies and do this," and I was like, okay, as long as we don't do that crazy stuff, I can do this. And how much are you gonna pay me? And they were like, oh, how about we pay you this little amount? But there's a whole convention of people who shoot things like this, and it's called the East Coast Convention in Atlantic City. And I'm like,
New Jersey.
What?
Yeah,
This is a thing?
Is it you talking about Exotica, right?
No. Exotica didn't even exist then. It was called the East Coast Convention.
Okay.
This
so
is really the early 90s. Yeah, this is way before Exotica.
I know about it in New Jersey. Okay, got you.
I go out to Jersey. I end up staying in like the fanciest hotel I've ever stayed in, the Trump Hotel. Everything falls apart in the room. I don't ever want to go there again. But and
man.
I end up meeting his name was John Fantasy.
Dragon? Oh, John Fantasy, okay.
Oh, John Dragon came later.
Okay.
But I meet John Fantasy. And
okay.
He's like, you should come to California. We would shoot you. Everybody would shoot you. And I'm walking around this convention because, you know, they hype you the fuck up. Girls, listen, they hype you the fuck up. Everybody gave me a card and was like, come to California. We will make you a star. And I'm like, okay. How much are you going to pay?
Sounds like the music industry. This sounds strangely like the music industry, how this works.
See, I try to tell people that. I really do. I tell people this all the time. And they're like, oh, you're going to be a star. So then me and a few friends, we jump in a Greyhound. We jumped in a van, drove all the way out there. And my first time to California, the girls that went with me, they sent them home, and they put me in a fat video.
The nerve of them to do this.
Don't get me wrong, it was a fun ride out there. There's some interesting stories, but I'll have to tell that another time. But so I ended up doing that. And I was like, you know what? That was kind of neat, seeing actual cameras and being on the actual set and having, like, craft service and people doing my makeup and stuff. I didn't like the fact they called me fat, but I might need to go back for some more of that. I think I like that. Okay, this is me thinking in my head. I'm kind of goofy in my head.
No, go ahead.
And then I went back home. I went back home for about 6 months, and I told everybody at the club I was working at the time, I go, I have decided I'm quitting this, and I'm going to be a porn star. And they all laughed in my face and told me I was stupid. And I was
look who's laughing now.
And then 3 months later, I sold everything in my house, and I got on a Greyhound bus, and I moved to California. So that's how that started. Was that the quick version? I was trying to do the quick version. So.
Well, no, we got a little bit of time, because I told you there's already going to be a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4. I mean, this is like LeBron with not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, because we're loving all of this right now, because you're showing one thing about it is that, we're honored with this show. We're honored having you as a guest. We've had a couple of adult stars on this show prior to who we really love and respect just as people. Shout out to Stacy and Nayuri. So one thing about it, Sierra, we want everybody to understand the humanity in the sense of who you are as people. And, this is a job that you all have. It's like anything. It's no different than a rapper, a person who says they want to rap. The trajectory of the direction of how they may go is different. But by the same token, it's an ambition. You're trying to get in it to make money. You want to be the best at it. Like I said, in the 90s, we're beginning to see where, it's beginning to bubble a little bit. I would say around 97 is really when we begin to see, like, when you see the Sugar Wall series, when you see the 24/7, this is when you begin to see more of the ethnic titles begin to come into play. One of the people you shot with, Rodney Moore, he would occasionally, when he was, before he had LBO, before it went into Rodney Vision, so there's a lot of history here with you in terms of where you started and where you, where you ended up at. So you get there. What is it like during that time?
Hello.
Hey. Sorry about that. I think I had a little technical issue.
Okay, it's all good. We're
Okay,
all
so
back
it wasn't
here.
just me?
No, it wasn't you. I was talking, and then all of a sudden everything just went to kaput. So what's the last thing you heard me say?
I don't remember. Say it again. Hello.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay, King, you there?
Am I there?
Yeah, a little technical difficulties going on. I got to fix
Okay, we're good.
We're good now.
Okay. See, I told you we fixed it. Okay. Okay, so like I was saying, once again we're back on. Sorry for the delay, y'all, but we're back. Like I was saying, Sierra, like I said, we want everybody to know, because you're the third star we've had up here. We want everybody to see this what really goes on with this, in terms of it, so we've had a couple of stars on here, former stars with here before. So once all right, so you're getting into the game.
Because I don't think enough people know what goes on behind the scenes. Because, it's like with the name it says that. I don't think people understand how much goes on behind the scenes, even though, we are sexy.
It's work.
Yeah.
There is a formula.
Yeah. So like I was saying before we all lost air, for those that may have caught what I was saying last before we went off. So basically, this is around the time that we're seeing that this new generation of black stars really coming to the game. Like Janet Jackson, of course, Julian St. Jacques, Tony Eveready, Portia. You all are part of this new movement that's like really beginning to catch fire. Tia Precious, Megan Reed, Dominique Simone, of course, like you said, Vanessa Blue, Kitten, Fonda French, Naomi. I mean, the list goes on.
So I hate to say this, and I hate to sound like this, but I think it was more like, so there was this small little in between part where there were so many stars, and then there was stars in the 70s going into the 80s. And then it was like Kitten, Vanessa Blue. I mean, when it was just us at that time. When it was me, Kitten, Vanessa Blue. Janet Jackson was on her way out. Even, a few of them, but they were on their way out, and we did that little in-between time. So we were the in-between transition kind of time where we started to transition to bigger titties into a more voluptuous body, which was really, and honestly, there were about 5 of us at the time, and any movie that was going to be made with a voluptuous girl was going to be made with one of the 5 of us, no matter what. Because we were the only ones. And I was one of the natural ones, but it was Kitten, Vanessa Blue, I wanted to see Janet, but Janet technically was on her way out at the time because when I met her, she was retiring actually. Because I had wanted to meet her so bad. That's the only reason why I remember it so well, because I wanted to meet her so much. I was like dying to meet her, and I think I saw her the first time I met her. I think she was doing her last movie.
Because Janet would come back later on. She would come back, I think, at like 2000, and My Baby Got Back 20. She would come back, you know. Yeah, she would come back. Yeah, she would come back like some years later. Because, like you said, it was an in-between transition.
But there was a very short list of black girls that you could choose from when you were going to do a porn movie. It wasn't like there was a whole lot of us. And we pretty much all knew where we were going to fit in.
Now, when you say that, Sierra, was this also from the perspective because I, you know, yes, I mean, like I said, I was heavy on the black girl, you know, you know, because by the time, it's funny, I can say this, I won't say the, you know, because it's like, you know, when you're young and you're wild, you know, when the hormones hit, so it's like, when we were growing up, pornos was hard to find, you know, pornos was hard to find. Like,
okay, so I say this from, and I hate to do this, and people make fun of me, but I'm a fun 51. So, were pornos on VHS when you were a kid?
Yeah. I mean, I'm 45.
So I don't know if they were, because most of my pornos had to actually be. Okay, so yeah. So most of the movies I did actually had to be transferred over to, like, CDs because they weren't filmed that way.
Right.
Which is really crazy. And then we had to buy the rights. The only reason I know this is we had to eventually buy somebody hilariously didn't buy the rights to his stuff and taught us all not to do that. So we had to buy the rights to those things so we could get money afterwards, which was a big deal. See, that's the business side of it.
Right.
Because before you didn't have digital rights before.
But it's crazy. But it's crazy you say that because this is how, for those that saw Boogie Nights, and for those that really understand it, where I'm going, you already know what I'm going to say. Because remember,
actually, the person I'm talking about is in there. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you know, remember that scene. King, remember that scene with the Colonel and Jack where they're talking because the Colonel is trying to tell Jack about what is coming next in terms of how, you know, how they're shooting the movies is on the way out and like home videos are the next thing. And, you know, Jack is bucking on him because Jack is trying to tell him, you know, that Jack is still stuck in that time of how he's shooting it and he doesn't want to go into video. But see, video, this is the 70s if y'all are following the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, 70s. So this is like...
The weird thing is I had that same conversation with somebody just as famous sitting at a party one day, and we were like, CDs are not going to be a big thing. The Internet's not going to be a big thing. It's just, you know, and then the Internet became a humongous thing. And I was like, ooh,
the business model changed.
Code. Yeah, and I started learning how to code, so...
Yeah, the business model changed.
Yeah, that is the thing.
Yeah, so when you're looking at it, because I remember all those girls who were coming in and like from like 19, because me and you talked off air about that story about how porn didn't really become legal until 1988. So that was when you started having places like Van Nuys, the Chatsworth, they were known as Porn Valley. So that's where you started, all the studios started setting up.
And it was only legal in certain it was only illegal in certain
juicy part. Yes, that's the juicy part
areas.
Of the story that
it wasn't in all of California.
So break that down for our listeners,
it wasn't in all of
Sierra.
California.
Okay, break that down for us.
So porn wasn't legal in every part of California. It was only legal in certain parts. It was only legal in the valley. The minute you left the valley, like if you were shooting on the beach or anything else, you had to watch out for cops.
Right.
Or you were going to jail. So, yeah, it was only legal in the valley during the 80s and early 90s. So we were still having to deal with that kind of thing. And then you also had to be, depending on what you rented, because then after a while it became a thing and people would rent out their house to you. But if you were trying to rent a special place, you had to be really, matter of fact, oh my gosh. Oh, that reminded me of, I'm sorry, you're reminding me of something old I hadn't thought about in like forever. And we ended up having to shoot in the desert, which was freaking awful. But, yeah, there were places where you actually couldn't shoot porn. And we would do it anyway, and you had to be really careful.
Right.
Because you could go to jail. So, yeah, that was still a big deal in the early 90s, even though no one talked about it, but it was still a deal.
Well, I mean, and it's wild because that was also, too, because we saw kind of where, like the 24/7, the Booty Talk series, the Sugar Wall series, that's where you started seeing a lot of the younger girls, you know, because you were, of course, in that scene as well. This is where you started seeing Megan Reed, Nina Nade, Moni Love, not the rapper, y'all, the porn star, and she was fine as fuck, too. Oh, my God, with her chocolate ass. I mean, Obsession would start where she would come into the game. We haven't even talked about, you know, Caramel Lover, Menage a Trois, you know, Nikki Love,
Menage
Portia.
a Trois, yeah.
That
Portia.
tongue, oh, my God, she was legendary with that tongue. Oh, my goodness.
Yes. I remember those days, yeah.
I mean, who else? I mean, it was just so many. I mean, Midori, we can't forget Midori.
Oh, Midori.
Yeah.
I remember
Jody
the first
Watley.
time I found out whose sister she was. Yeah,
Jody
when
Watley.
I figured out, oh, God. I shot with her like twice, I think.
Yeah, because Midori.
Those are the days.
So when you're getting into the game and you're getting deeper in it, because, I mean, of course, Tracy Mathis, you know, I remember that scene, you know, you, her, and Kitten did back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, that three-way y'all
that
had.
Scene I do that I do remember very well. That was a fun scene.
There's a
lot I don't remember, but that one I remember. That was fun. Yeah, we laughed a lot.
Yeah, so, and of course, I mean, you know, Byron Long, you know, he comes into the game, you know, like 90.
Yeah.
You know, Byron Long, he came, the first time I saw Byron, he was in Baby Got Back 9. This was like, now, because we're just nerds about the history, of course, you know, Byron had the other
I shot with him
he
a lot.
did. Yes,
you did.
Yes, you
I
did.
shot with him a lot, though. Yeah, I did. Well, we were really good friends. Actually, we were very good friends. And I mean, actually, as that, we were very good. He's a really, really great person. Like we would go and watch football on Sundays. We literally would go watch football on Sundays. So he's a really great guy.
Yeah, he's actually
and
he's actually on my Facebook.
You know,
friends
I don't
list.
care about that. I never did, but yeah, no, he was really a fun guy to work with, and he was really respectable, which you can't say about everybody, and he really was. And he was just really a fun guy to work with. You didn't go home wanting to shower, you know. Sometimes you went home going, "Oh my God, peel it off of me." So
you know, which is a perfect transition, Sierra, because for all the fun and the frolicking and the freaking, we've also seen some horror stories. We've heard horror stories about with certain individuals, like you know, we heard about, of course, the situation most notably that happened with Ron Jeremy. You know, in terms of his situation, obviously for those that don't know, Ron Jeremy, back in January of this year, rather, the court, you know, they basically they put a moratorium on it because he was declared mentally unfit to stand trial because he because apparently now he's, you know, Alzheimer's, dementia, pretty much all the same thing. But he's actually, they said he's incompetent to stand trial. You know,
that man's been crazy for years.
It's wild because I saw
yeah.
Go ahead.
Nothing about the story from the moment it broke shocked me in any way. There are a lot. See, this is the problem with being a porn star in the 90s. You knew Ron Jeremy. and you had to go through Ron Jeremy to get to the bigger stuff.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well,
it wasn't fun. It wasn't enjoyable. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Nothing about the story. I stopped following it. Ironically, I can't believe I stopped following it. So they claimed he was medically incompetent now.
Well, yeah. So because the thing was, they said he was, and I mean, but this is also a situation. Of course, we heard about the situation with James Dean. We heard about the situation with Ryan Madison.
Who's James Dean?
James Dean, he was, I believe he's retired now, but James Dean, he was a former.
Wait a minute, didn't he have a girlfriend and they used to do things together kind of thing?
I don't know about all that,
maybe
but I do know.
Different. I don't know.
But I know
I'm
he
sorry,
got
I'm
a
usually
situation
only in my own head.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, we love it. No, but James Dean, not, of course, spelled D-E-E-N. But apparently what happened was there was a lot of women. For those that are listening, you can go online on Bing. That's my search engine of choice. But there was a lot of women that came out talking about how he raped them, and how.
That is actually not surprising in any absolute way at all when it comes to, I can absolutely say that is not surprising in any way when it comes to him. Because I've seen him do things but again, it was a different time, and we just didn't say anything. And,
right.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the Me Too movement maybe want to say a lot of things, and now it's like, okay, well, you're a porn star, how much can you say? But, and that's what you can hold against it, too. But don't get me wrong, yes, no, he's I don't want to be this way.
Because I think
a lot of
the
men in the business can be very misogynistic. They
don't
realize sometimes that maybe we like doing the things we do, but you don't have to be misogynistic about it. So, and he wasn't really one of those. But he also came from a different time. And I hate to use that as an excuse for people, but you do have to realize that a different time is actually a different time.
Well, to give it context.
About history.
To give it context, though, Sierra, this is something where, like you said, because by the time in the 90s, because people have to understand Ron Jeremy was doing this in, like, the late 60s, early 70s. So he had, he was
iconic by then.
Yeah,
he was the grandfather. Yeah, he was. If he kissed your hand, you were definitely going to be a star. And I'm not lying about that. If you got one movie at least in with him in the 90s, you were definitely going to be a star. It didn't matter what you did as long as he was in a movie with you.
And see, Ron was and Ron was older then, and it's like, because we remember seeing him growing up, and, he was older then, but it's like he was still stroking back then, so it's like, we were like, this dude obviously got some pull, so it's like, but when you're seeing, the one thing about it in the industry, there's a few of the young ladies who are in the game that we talk to off air, and everybody has their different motivations for getting in, one of them, we talked to, she did not want, her story put out there publicly, and we did not talk about that on air when we interviewed her heavily. But she, she was a smart girl, and she had a scholarship to a top school, but she just had a wild streak. And that's, me and you will talk about that off air. We'll talk about that off air. I'll tell you that whole story.
I'm always willing to share my story because mine is just, people, I always had people go, well, you went to college, you could do this, you weren't poor, you weren't broke. Why did you decide to? I'm like, because I was having a good time. I was literally, I honestly have to say, I didn't know that I was going to end up making money at it. I didn't know that I was going to become famous. And, well, I shouldn't say famous. That's not really true. It's really just, I'm famous around certain circles. It wasn't my plan in any way. It was just me having a good time and feeling myself and feeling my sexuality at the time. And really, sports, you hear my dog? Sorry, I heard someone on YouTube go, she really loves her dog. Yes, I really love my dog, and he's really old, and so is my cat. But I was...
Yeah, we back. I don't know what's going on with Blog Talk tonight, man. Well, we getting it going.
Man. Okay, yeah, King. Yeah, man. I took King. I mean, look, even with the technical difficulties, dude, this is one of our legendary shows, man. I mean, the stories that we've got, I mean, wow.
It could be this. It could be this. Possibly a lot of people probably trying to call in. It's not showing on the switchboard, and it's probably throwing it off a little bit. We probably have more calls than ever.
I mean, it's just a lot, man. I mean, and definitely, we're definitely getting some stories with it, man. You know, so it's definitely something that I just hit her to tell her to call back in. So, I mean, you know, we making it.
Yeah,
but yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot that people really don't know in terms of what really saying. So it's like we're definitely getting the history with it.
Hold on 1 second, y'all.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to have her to call back again. That way, we can know where we go from there. Yeah, if you're listening, go ahead and try to call back again. We're gonna try to bring you back on the air. Make sure these technical difficulties is gonna be solved, so we can finish the interview out. And I'm starting to think that a lot of y'all thirsty niggas is calling this show. And y'all kind of really throwing off the flow.
Well, if we don't, we'll just run with it for what it is. You know, but we're just working it how we work it. I just told her call back in, so we're gonna make it work. But yeah, man, you think about.
I'm thinking you bringing 3,000 callers on the show or something. Throwing Blog Talk switchboard off.
Man, look. You saw what I text you. No, baby, don't worry. We got everybody heard everything.
Am I here?
You're here. Everybody.
For a moment there, I was like, I will not be ignored, damn it.
Baby, we got everything. When you and me,
let's run.
Another glass of wine.
Let's Ron Jeremy himself trying to cut the cords.
Oh my gosh!
We got everything. No, they heard everything. They heard all in all seriousness, everybody heard everything. So we're good. Everybody heard everything. But what you were saying about, because you were talking about how...
Are we on air right now?
Oh yeah, we on air.
Yes, we are. Yeah, we're on air.
Yeah, we good.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh my God!
I think we got a Byron from Players Club in the audience somewhere. He keep on trying to interfere.
I don't know. But okay,
but yeah,
so
man.
In all of that, to end it, I was like, it was the 90s, and during that time, it was kind of neat to have, Ron Jeremy. Well, you probably already know. It was neat if you were in Hollywood to have Ron Jeremy around.
Right.
So,
we heard that part. Yeah, right. We got that part.
In fact, though, being that I was his friend I was the new it girl at the time. I wasn't his friend. I was the new it girl. He would take me around, and so I met a lot of people in Hollywood. So
we're not asking you to give up names.
We're not asking for names. But but yeah, it was Ron is an interesting person, and he knew a lot of people. And if you wanted to know anybody in the industry and in Hollywood at the time, you had to know him. And it was absolutely the truth. It was Bible. But I never wanted to be an actress. It was never my thing. And then one day I was like, ooh, I like being behind the camera. This is fun. Ooh. So.
Now, Sierra too, and we're not asking, we're not asking about your experience with this, but we also know too, because in Hollywood, we know the stories. Of course, we know with John Holmes. We know about what he did in terms of John Holmes. Not only was he doing gay and straight porn, but he was also, whoever had the money to buy his services, he was doing that too. As a gigolo. We know a lot of girls. We know a lot of the girls in the industry at that time. I heard stories about Toy Clayton. When she was in it, I heard Toy would charge like $800 an hour, for her time.
You guys are naughty.
So.
You are so naughty. You are very naughty. You know that, right?
$800 an hour.
You're very naughty. A lot of times, if you make more money, or it's not necessarily even money, it's not even a money thing. There's a thing. It's not a money thing. It's
Got you.
When you run in certain circles, you meet certain people.
That's true, and I mean we know
one
thing about it.
Just like if you're political, you get gifts.
Right.
So
right.
it's not like it's not as tawdry as people think it is, but yeah, we can't all meet Trump either. But yeah, but that just, I don't know if that still happens anymore. I don't know. Does it? Does it still happen? Is that a thing?
It's funny because one of my best friends, I won't say her name on air, but of course, who was in the game, and that's one of my best friends in the world. I love her dearly. She talked about how, when she was in it, how, they would go on, they would take out of town trips. I mean, and this is when she was in the streets, doing it, and she would make $100, not 100, she would make $1,000, $5,000, a lick in terms of clients. I mean, she was playing. She was playing hardball, bro.
Well, I will say this. When you're a model of a certain type, you do get to know certain people. And you do get to live. I don't know what it's like for girls now, but you also have to understand that if you're coming from at least the 80s and 90s, you're used to making a certain amount of money, you're used to living a certain type of lifestyle. So the difference is now, and this is so crazy to me because I see girls on video all the time doing really fun things. Don't get me wrong, because I get off on it. But I'm like, so how much did you get paid for that?
Right.
Yeah, I'm going, how much did you get paid for that? And so, just like old school, we don't talk about how much we got paid. So you learn to live. The right way to say this is you learn to live in a certain circle. And once you learn to live in a certain circle, it's very hard to leave that circle.
Now, typically in that time, Sierra, what was usually the going rate for black girls in general, in terms of what the average black girl would make during the time that you started? Well,
the average black girl?
Yeah.
Oh, God, the average black girl was making about $150 a blowjob to maybe $500 for a scene. Yeah, the rates weren't really great unless you became somebody they were looking for. And then you had to start learning how to negotiate a contract. That was a really big deal. So I was a contract girl for I was actually a contract girl. Why can't I not
Which
think
studio?
Of this damn group now? I'm trying to think of it right now. I should know this because I just
now, was
talked
it with
to
an
him
agency or with
ago.
a studio? Was it with a studio or an agency?
I was my own agent. I was with the agency for a while, and everybody knows the agency. There's only one, World Modeling, right?
Well, you got Orange County, you got Steelers Girls. Well, we know about LA. We got LA.
Okay, so all of them came after World Modeling. So I remember Spiegler and all of them. Oh, yeah, he was awesome. He was actually really good. No, the original modeling company for the industry was World Modeling.
Got you.
And if you weren't with him, you didn't have an agent. You were just doing it on your own if you weren't with him. And it was really hard as a black girl to actually get him to book you stuff, period. It was very hard. I used to have to actually go to every single company, literally drive every morning, 7 a.m. in the morning, get up, drive, print Z cards, print 8x10s, audition, sit in the lobby for 4 hours. You did that every single day. Yeah, you did it every single day. And you got your first booking.
And it's crazy because
and then you would have to pose for Polaroids. You would have to sit there and pose for Polaroids every single day for different Polaroids about how you look. You had to keep your look up. It was really a big deal. I mean, you would just walk through Van Nuys every day and go to every single studio. And then they took 15%.
And it's crazy because, when we look at it, juxtaposed against the music industry, it's the same thing. It's no different than an artist trying to get their demo out, going to every, label, trying to get them to listen to the music and hoping that somebody wants to pick you up.
Just hoping someone pick you up. I would have to make press packs, like serious press packs where I had to list all my accomplishments, every bikini award I won, everything. And you'd have to walk these to every single studio and just sit there and just wait and hope they interview. Sometimes you sit there for 3-4 hours, and they'd be like, well, come back tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Now.
Every single morning I would get up. Every single week I would do this every week, every day. Then I would have maybe three shoots the next week for like $100.
But that's the grind. But see, that's the grind.
They call it paying your dues. That's what they would call it back in the day. They call it paying your dues.
I was paying my dues, and I would have to get out my car and walk. Oh my God, I remember walking. And then you still had to pay for, because back then you had to have, because HIV was new then, so you had to have this AIM test that was $327 a week. No, every 2 weeks. That you had to have, so you had to be fully tested before you did any movie whatsoever. You had to be completely tested and come up completely clean. And they didn't pay for that.
Yeah, that's
and you did it every 2 weeks.
But see, that's the thing, y'all, that people don't know about it, what goes on behind the scenes. I remember back in 2004 where they had that big HIV outbreak. Once again, I can only mention a name because his name was one of the most prevalent. It was featured Darren James because he had caught HIV.
So it's so funny as the pictures I was posting last week, I noticed as I was going through that photo book that I have one of my first pictures in Hollywood is with him. And I remember I got invited to Brazil to go with them. And I was like, this is a weird thing. I was like, that's a real hot spot for AIDS right now, and I don't think I'm ready for that. And I've only done, at that point I had only done maybe 50 movies, and I turned it down. But I have pictures with me shooting with him way before that ever happened. But yeah, you had to get tested every 2 weeks on the regular, and it came out of your pocket. You had to pay for it. And it was a DNR. It was a DNR test. So they weren't just testing my blood; they were testing my DNR strands, or my DNA strand for the virus at all. Yeah. So I had to go through a lot. I had to go through testing. I did that for years.
But
many years.
But when you're dealing with a multi-million-dollar industry like it is, and it's a billion-dollar industry, in general, it's money. So we understand. It's like it's something that,
especially when you're in a contract.
Yeah, and you can't have anything disrupt that flow of commerce because it's a business at the end of the day. You know, like Vince McMahon once famously said, "I'm here to put asses in the seats." You know, and you know people.
But
you know,
it also
watch
meant it also meant I had absolutely no dating life because I couldn't risk the chance of catching something because it would ruin my finances.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the part they don't talk about. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and when we look at that time, because there was a lot going on. It's like when we talk about this conversation is
this
conversation is dope. Yeah. You know, and this conversation is dope because it brings it back to the golden era, the second golden era. So we're looking at, like we talk about with fondness, the 90s and early 2000s, just like we talk about hip-hop in terms of, and you and me talked off there about heavy metal and alternative, which you are a big fan of as well. You know, so we're looking at
the 90s was the height of AIDS the height of AIDS in the adult industry. So you have to be extremely careful. So if you're going to say a performer is a girl, you just didn't date at all.
But when we look at some of the productions that came out, like what Jim Malibu did with the 33 Girl Jam for Vivid, where he directed that, and then, of course, Larry Flynt, God rest that saint's soul. We love Larry Flynt. What he did with the Hustler joints where he had all of y'all in those movies together, like the Nubian Nurse Orgy, you know, the World's Luckiest Patient.
Oh, my God, I forgot I did that. You're right. That was awesome.
I mean,
I forgot about that. I totally forgot that.
How did he get all of y'all together? Because this is like the equivalent of a posse cut in a rap song of all the dopest MCs on one track, and he had all the baddest bitches.
It was
in
totally
one movie.
like you wake up one morning and you get this phone call. We had landlines back then. You get this phone call and they go, okay, so it literally always goes like this. Like even when I would go to Playboy, it was always like this. It was like, we have such and such on hold for you. Would you like to speak to him right now? I'm like, okay, I guess I'm sitting at home, so yeah. And then they come on the line. They ask me, would you like to do this? Well, how am I supposed to say no? You don't even ask how much money they're going to pay you. You just go, yes, and then you call back later, and you realize you have to go through 5 people just to find out how much money you're going to make. But, yeah, it was kind of, they used to do that back then. That was back, when you had to go through 5 secretaries and talk to somebody.
I mean, but that was like, but one thing about it with Flint and what he did for free speech, I mean, the movie, shout out to Woody Harrelson playing him, you know, the People versus Larry Flint, you know, back in the day when he did it. You know, I mean, Larry really, really was, he really fought for it, you know, with Hustler magazine, you know.
I'm not going to lie, he did a really good job.
Yeah, he did. It was a great movie. I'm a big history buff, too. So, of course.
But he got his mannerisms down. That's what killed me. He really got his mannerisms down.
Look, King Sierra, after he...
I personally never shot for them, though. I only did that movie, but I never shot for the magazine.
Yeah, but I mean, this is in a time during, like, he had like the Young and Black series, you know, like he had like a few of them that he was shooting, you know. Matter of fact, Snoop Dogg, when he did his Doggy Style joint, you know, back in the day. There's another story behind that. We'll talk about that off air, but some people already know that story. But but this is the time that like Larry we'll talk about that off air because there was a lot of I'll put it like this: it's public knowledge to a degree, but it's something that it's Snoop. If you ask him about it, he'll tell you at the time he was just living a wild life. This is how basically. You know what?
I say that about people bring things up to me, and I'm going, I was living a wild life. I'm sorry. I was in my 20s. I was in my 30s. I might have even been in my 40s. But I was living my life, so just get over it. Because, you know, sometimes you have to do that. And sometimes you're allowed to do that.
it's funny because one of my former managers where I work, she's from New Orleans, and she's Mexican and Chilean. She's just about as black as anybody that I've ever met. She's you would look at her, but she got that wild side into her. But me and her would always talk, and she's like, it's good to have a healthy hoe phase. And she would just say it so nonchalantly.
Yeah.
But she said it with a sense of knowing, like she did some wild shit growing up. And that's my buddy. That's my buddy. But I think one thing about it is that we're all human beings. We're all sexual creatures. We love to fuck.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. And I think more than anything, I think with society tries to put these constraints on us in terms of this convoluted sense of morality and decency, which I find ironic when you look at the people who are supposed to be so moral that we find at the epicenter of all types. Yeah.
Oh, there you are. I was just about to ask where you were, by the way.
Yeah, my brother back up here. Yeah, he here.
Yeah, I had to chime in on that because I was like, man, that's the post quarter side.
We all have. They
play their holier than thou. Yeah, they said they play their holier than thou, and then come to find out weeks later, you start finding information about them. Oh, he got caught looking at boys, or he got caught looking at young girls, or like, man, you work to the people you condemn.
See, that has always been my biggest problem. Because so you all already know, I'm always very, like, out there with my stuff. I'm just like, you know what? It's what I did. So what? Get over it. I enjoyed it. And if you didn't like it, then you shouldn't have been watching.
Right.
But there are so many people out there that get caught with things that I'm like, oh, no, that's not. I have a line. I actually do have a literal line that I draw, and it stops with most human society, and I don't want to even, like, go there, but there's just, like, so many things going on in the news that I see all the time, especially since I live in Virginia, and you've heard about what's going on in Maryland. So you all did hear that, right? About the mayor and everything else?
No, what's going on?
Oh, my gosh. There's so many counts of child pornography going on right now. And I'm just like, yeah, there's a line. Because if you had been just looking at me, this would be a problem. But,
go ahead.
There's a line with certain things. And you get people who look at you and they go, okay, you're past. Oh, you're a certain person because you've done these things in your past. And there's nothing wrong with exploring your sexuality. To a point.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that it's something that we all do, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the reality is, like I said, in terms of, the women I've dealt with over the years, and only women, I one thing about me that I think for myself personally, I mean, I love to fuck. I mean, I just love pussy. That's just me. But I also was a guy who, I was very deliberate with the women I dealt with. My dalliances were not just like dancing with every chick out there. I tell anybody, there's nothing wrong with exploring your sexuality.
Yeah, you can't be chasing waterfalls out there.
Man, look, you're gonna drown in it. You're gonna drown.
Don't be chasing waterfalls.
If you can't swim, you're bound to drown.
Man, look, we grew up in that time of rap, you know what I'm saying, where the OGs were giving us wisdom on it. Everybody from Dr. Dre, Snoop, Above the Law, Cocaine.
You know it. Okay, they were giving wisdom. That's all. Like, I don't know what these kids are whining about right now, but we were learning wisdom back then, and we were like, oh,
yes, we were.
We shouldn't do that.
Yes, we were.
But I do find it funny that I hate to say this. I know I'm bad at controlling conversation. Sorry, y'all.
No, go ahead, please. No, this is about you. This is all about you. No, boo, this is all about you. You say whatever you want. Go ahead.
It was the 90s, and we did a lot of things, but at the same time, I am, though sometimes I do forget. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I forget that we had a lot of fun in the 90s. And we did a lot of things that shaped a lot of things that are happening today. And there have been moments, even as I say how much fun I had in the industry, I had my moments of bitterness too. I had my moments when I was like, why am I not being recognized? Why is no one saying, hey, you did a really good job? And why is this movie winning an award and I didn't even get acknowledged when I was in it? So
what was the process?
Those things too.
What was the process at that time with the AVNs and all of that in terms of how people, because this thing is like super big now.
So the biggest thing back then, so like when I started, AVN was part of CES. I don't know if you all remember that. It wasn't even a separate show then. It was a very small show when I started.
Right.
Yeah, and I used to also go to another show in Tampa that was actually a little bit bigger, but it went a different direction. But I just started to get to a point where I was like, okay, I'm doing all these, because my whole goal, once I finally decided that, hey, this is what I'm doing for a living. And my parents always taught me, if you're going to do something, then do it big. And I'm really big on doing things big. So I was like, okay, once I realized, okay, wait a minute, I've been in this now almost, at that point, 8-9 years. And I'm actually getting kind of famous. Maybe I should start going for bigger movies and bigger roles. And I can't just do everything for just fun. And the reason why I bring this up is just recently, I should say not recently, but a year or so, people were like, oh, she only did certain movies. But people also forget that this is a business.
Right.
It wasn't about my personal preference. And I was like, if I'm ever going to win any kind of accolade, I'm going to have to do certain things. And that became a little bit of a claw in my, what is it, a crook in my claw? What's the saying? I can't remember. But, just like a thorn in my claw. That's what I'm looking for. It became a thorn in my claw because I had to do certain things to get to other things. So I had to do this movie to get the big movie that I really wanted. Or to be the cover or the feature on this movie, I had to do something that I didn't really want to do because I'm under contract. So it became that after a while in a constant fight, and that's when I started getting very bitter, and I started realizing that I was feeling that way, and that's where I was like, you know what, it's time for me to walk away, because I always knew that the moment that it wasn't fun for me, it was time to leave. So the minute it wasn't fun for me, the minute I really realized I was not enjoying myself anymore, I walked away because I was starting to get angry.
And that is something that's called going out on top, because one thing about it is that because from when I first hit you, a year and a half ago on IG, and I understood your apprehension, which is why King and myself, we're so honored and so humbled to have you on, and we can call you a friend, because like anything, we're just going to keep it Brit, as my brother would say. You got a lot of you got a lot of weirdos now. We're not those guys.
Oh, I've had so many stalkers. So
yeah,
don't stalk me, damn it. I know FBI agents now. So but it gets weird.
Yeah. Because one thing about it,
fun,
you said what now?
The admiration is fun, though.
Yeah, the admiration is fun, but then it gets into, it's like it's like in Players Club, like that scene where Diamond, is like going home and then the dude shows right up at her crib, you know what I'm saying? And he's like wigging out. It's like, I gave you, so one thing about it is that we know your work. We grew up seeing it. It's no secret. We're not ashamed of saying that on air, but it's also, too, we understand the respect factor of you as a human being and as a woman, and that is paramount above everything. So we make that separation between who you are, what you did in your business life, and who you are in your personal life. We understand that difference, and we're always going to respect those boundaries. We're never going to cross them. And we wanted you on this show because, like you said, for not getting that acknowledgement in the industry that you so richly deserve, we wanted to make sure that to the best of our ability, to come to our platform, of which you will always be a guest on, of welcome guest, a welcome person. We wanted you to be able to tell it from a perspective of your truth, your perspective, and give you a safe space of comfort to be as free as you want to be without restriction. Off the Cuff is about our guests, no matter. Our Off the Cuff radio is, we have a saying on this show: no guest too big, no guest too small. Absolutely. We've had independent rappers, artists. We've had wrestlers, chefs. Like I said earlier, former adult stars. We don't discriminate in terms of the status, because at the end, you all are people. You all should be respected as such for who you are as individuals. And we want to make sure that we extend it to where you feel respected. You know, if nobody else is going to give you a platform to tell a story, God damn it, we will. And we're going to listen, and we're going to enjoy every minute of it.
Okay, look, don't make me cry on this damn show. Do not make me cry, because I will get emotional on you, okay?
But this now we can give people their flowers.
Yeah.
You know the quote drink champs. We give people their flowers.
Look,
I ain't giving no flowers.
We're gonna have to meet in New York.
Give me no flowers.
We're gonna meet in New York, and we're gonna have some scotch. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, look.
I'm a scotch girl.
Look, Sierra, you know, we both in Virginia. You know, you 4 hours from where I'm at. You know, look, whenever you want to come down. Whenever you want to come down to Hampton Roads, just let me know in advance, and we'll meet up, and we'll just talk like old friends. Because we got a little bit of time left, so when you talk about how this is why we're going to need a part 2, but let's try to close it out strong.
Okay, let's go there. I will shut up. Okay.
No, it's okay, because this is where you start talking again. So this is where you leave, and then you go into your second act as an entrepreneur. Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh! You know what? Well, I've always been a little bit frugal, so. And then
it's okay.
One day I woke up and I was just like, I know you do. It was so funny because I had a feeling you were going to do this. You were totally like, oh, you're doing it 9 to 5. We're like, why would I be doing it 9 to 5? But here's the problem: when you've done something so out there, and I'm not shooting my own horn or anything, and it's not as bad.
You were one of the best at what you did, boo. You toot your horn as much as you want.
No, I'm not. No, I just have a recognizable laugh, which I'm not really good at disguising. So I had to learn, it's really hard once you've done over 200 movies, it's kind of hard to go out there and get a regular job. So you realize that, hey, maybe you need to start your own business. So that's usually just what I do, and that's who I am. So that's why you all can't realize I got to go to work, and then some days I don't go to work at all. Some days I'm home for like weeks at a time. But it's just depending on what I'm planning on doing that week. But it's
understood.
Such a transition from 25 years of being in front of a camera, and not just a video camera, but also modeling in front of the camera, and even that before that, and going back even more. I should definitely write a book about it. But once you've been in front of a camera since you were 17 years old, all the way up until you're 32, it's kind of hard to transition into regular work. And it's just not easy. And people do not understand that when you try to tell them that. And there's nothing worse than going, oh, I want to get a job. And they go, what have you done before? You're 32. And they go, well, I'm a porn star. So, it's kind of that thing.
Aurora Snow, she wrote about that in the op-ed piece some years ago. She talked about how there's those gaps. A lot of chicks who were in the game day or night, she did an interview. She's one of the newer girls. She says she's always made sure to keep a regular job, so in case something happens and she ends up leaving the game or whatever, she's got steady employment. So, because you got some girls.
See, mine was going to school. I always kept, I'm always taking classes. I'm always getting a new certificate in something, or programming or something. So I always have something to fall back on. Because you always have to have something to fall back. If you do not have something to fall back on, you are fucked.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't stress that enough. I cannot stress that enough to any girl. You have to have something to fall back on, because you never know when you're not going to be the it girl anymore. And it may last. It may last 1 month. It may last as long as it did for me. And honestly, I never thought it was going to last more than 4 months, to be honest. In all true honesty, I never thought that my career was going to last longer than 4 months. I thought I'd be back in Atlanta by the next year.
But look at the legacy you carved out being one of the all. But look at the legacy you carved out being one of all-time girls. But there's also something you forgot to mention too. How important is it for girls to save their money? Because this is one of the most fundamental.
Oh my God! You have to save your money. You have to save your money. You have to invest. And no one would ever tell you this. No one tells you anything. And you have to pay your fucking taxes.
Yeah.
Oh,
pay your taxes.
They don't want to do that.
Pay them quarterly, and you cannot. I mean, don't get me wrong. My first couple of years, I didn't, and I got away with it. Oh God, they're not listening, are they? But you have to pay your taxes. You really have to do that, because it will come after you. And if you want to have a house or anything later, because during that time, these are your best earning years between 21 and 36. Actually, let me be honest. Between 21 and 34, if you still look good. That's if you didn't stay out partying all night and you moisturize.
Right,
and I'm serious, because they will drop you like a hot potato.
Dead ass. Dead ass.
Oh, they were dropping you so fast.
Oh, you gone.
Gain 5 pounds. Gain 5 pounds, okay? Or just get a little bit of wrinkle in your eye. They will drop you so fast and find another girl who looks exactly like you. But save your money. Invest your money. Make sure you invest your money. And find a skill that will last you. For me, it was computers. Find a skill that's going to last you, that you can do even outside of who you are, and you can still be yourself, because you're not going to be able to work at McDonald's anymore. Especially now with the internet. And I didn't even have the internet, but yeah, you're not going to be able to work at McDonald's. You're not going to be a secretary anymore. You're not going to be able to be just a plain bartender anymore. That's not going to happen. It completely changes your entire life. And in my case, I was lucky because the internet wasn't invented yet. So I had so many years of people not even knowing what I was doing. And I was enjoying my life.
And it's crazy, Sierra, because back in the day, too, I know Nina Hartley, who's a legend in the game. Nina, when she because Nina's, even close to 60, she was still doing them. But I know Nina was actually she was actually having a situation where she was actually a counselor for women going into the game, in terms of she would just sit them down and tell them, this is what to expect once you get in it. Are you ready psychologically for it?
Okay, so shut up right now. So I got to tell you, shut up right now, because it was Nina Hartley that got me. It was Nina Hartley. I was still just a feature at the time, and I remember she was featuring at the La Quinta Inn, and we stayed at the same inn. We were at the same club in 1994 or something like that, and I was like, how do I become a feature like you? And she gave me all the advice I just told you. She was the one that gave me that advice, and I followed her advice. And she was absolutely right.
Man,
but I'll never forget
that.
That was the night literally the night I decided. I was like, you know what? I think I could do porn. I can do this. And I just remember being in that hotel because it was like my second feature of dancing, because featuring was a lot of work. You had to come up with all these shows, and I still have feathers and costumes and shoes. But yeah, she was the one that, it was Nina Hartley that got me started on my journey and told me exactly what to expect when I got to California.
I mean,
and I
she's
had
a
been
legend
seeing her in my dad's videos. So she was, I had been seeing her in my dad's videos. I knew exactly who she was, and I was like, it was like meeting Michael Jackson for me. So I know it sounds crazy, but
I remember her from In and Out of Africa when her and Sahara got it on. So this was what, in like 84, 85. So I mean, she.
Right.
So I mean, and then even going into the 2010s, 2020s, I remember that thing she did with Jenna Fox and damn, whatchamacallit, I forgot her name that quick. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but I mean, she was still, doing her thing.
She's amazing. I actually got offered to do a scene with her, but I couldn't do it. Because I was like, no, she's way more to me than that. I cannot do this in front of her. And there's been like two actors that I was like, no, I can't do it. You don't realize I'm actually closer to them than you think, and I just can't do that.
Understood.
Yeah. Yeah, you have those moments where you go, oh, no, I can't do that with him. But, Nina Hartley was... She told me everything I needed to know, because I was calling at that point. I was calling agencies and calling around, and I was just trying to start being a feature. And actually, she was the reason why I decided to be a feature. I was just a stripper at the time, and she came to the Cheetah, and she was the feature. So I don't know if you have to tell everybody what the difference is between a feature and a stripper. There is a difference. We get paid
stripper.
More.
Yeah. Well, I mean, stripper, the feature, the dancer, the stripper is just a regular girl who's there, but the feature is the girl who actually travels in terms of she actually is like the paid performer, like coming in. We had a club out here. Yeah, there was a DC Dallas, a.k.a. Dallas the Body. When she came out here to Virginia, I went to a couple of her shows. I did not know a woman could be that damn amazing on a pole like she is. For those that have never seen Dallas the Body perform, you are missing out. That girl is incredible with her dance routine. She's incredible.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it takes a lot to be a feature. I had a whole bandit show. I can make fire jump out of my hands. And I had a whole pole thing. That was my thing. But becoming a feature in a white club was really hard. And
right.
She backed me up in most of them. She was always she was really the reason why I got into a lot of clubs, to be honest.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having that there's nothing wrong with having that help. I believe with it's the same thing with
she's a major
Marilyn
help
Monroe. Yes, I think with Marilyn Monroe. I think it was Ella Fitzgerald, I believe, was one of those jazz singers. Marilyn Monroe was basically saying she cut a deal with one of the clubs, like, listen, I'll be, a guest at your club, but you need to bring this black girl in and let her perform. So, I mean, when you're looking at how those
that was
literally
what Nina would do for me, and she would do it in Minneapolis. In Minnesota, Minnesota is the same place, I think it is. I didn't know about that, but oh my God. So she would have me booked up there. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, I'm going to be the best feature ever. And I just got really into this because I really wanted to just dance. I was really just a dancer. I had never done lap dance. Actually, to this day, I've never done a lap dance. I've never done a lap dance. But I didn't do the Go Club Bop, though. I will say the Go Club Bop. If you grew up in Atlanta, you know the Go Club Bop, right?
I didn't grow up in Atlanta, so you need to school us on that.
Oh, it's all about swinging your hair. You do this thing, you get on top of a table, and you swing your hair in 360-degree circles like Beyonce. Actually, that's exactly. Oh, my God, I did that before Beyonce. That's what I would do. And then you could never spread your legs wider than $1 bill when you were completely naked. But you could swing your hair all you wanted. You could swing your hair and cup your breasts all you wanted, but you could never spread farther than $1 bill. You could never been over farther than 10 inches.
I mean, there's a lot of nuance to this science that a lot of people don't know. Or you got fined.
So for anyone who never went to, the reason why it was called the Go Club was you all didn't really say, yes, there were a lot of very, very big ballers that went there, but the Go Club was very different from any other strip club. Did you ever notice that? Okay, so we had the legs and eggs breakfast.
Okay.
Okay, so you never went to the Go Club?
We were too young. We didn't live in Atlanta. We would have loved to have gone.
Oh, my God, I keep forgetting you all were too young. Okay. So you had the legs and eggs breakfast that started at about 10 p.m. and ended at 3 a.m. And legs and eggs included sushi. It was a full buffet with chicken and waffles and legs and eggs, and it would make omelets. And every girl, when you – oh, man, no, I'm telling you, this is the Gold Club. It was 3 stories. So you would walk in the Gold Club, and you walk past the whole, like, food bar and everything, and the sushi. There was an actual sushi chef. Sorry, I can't say that 5 times twice. Sushi chef. You would walk past that, and then you would go into this whole room. It was a sunken kind of, like, floor, and then there was a girl on stage, and there was a spiral staircase that went up the stage. And every 3 hours, there was a review, and you had to wear sequin floor-length gowns, but you had to pay for yourself. And all the girls would come out in the review, and they would walk around, and we would go around the whole stage, and we would do this kind of 1960s thing where we show a little shoulder and take it back. That's what we called it. Show a little shoulder and you take it back. And you had to wear this heavy sequin gown, and then you would drop it as you walk off the stage, and then you would go up this, and then some of the girls would sink into the floor.
But that means, but you got to think about it. No. We're listening. No, we're listening because we're getting it. We're taking this history because a lot of people, because I mean that was But when you say it was 3 stories, me and King are like, we're just telekinetic like that. We're just thinking to each other like 3 stories. But you got to think about the type of money that was going through there back in the day with the clientele. I mean,
3 stories. Okay, so
this is Atlanta in the 90s.
Club, you had to weigh a certain amount of weight, and your nails had to be a certain length. And you had to own a sequin heavy gown. And you had to have, for the Gold Club review, you had to have a different gown every week. So that was about $400 a week just for the gown. And these gowns were heavy. Oh, I have so many gowns. And you had to have gloves, too. It wasn't just gowns. You didn't look like the average strip club. You had to look like you were just like, how can I say it? You had to look like you were like going to a presidential ball or something, or the prom,
very elegant,
or something.
Very elegant.
And then you would you had to be very elegant. It was very specific. You had to be elegant. And the house mom, you could only buy your costumes from the house mom. It was very big thing. You had to weigh in every day. If you did not meet weight, if you were over your weight, you couldn't work.
That's how April Austin ran it in Casino. What Robert De Niro's character was like when they did a review. Yeah, with the Paris dancers.
Ironically, I
spent a lot
in
of
that house. Yeah, it was just like that. Yeah, you had to do that, and you got weighed every day. And then there were 2 levels of VIP rooms upstairs that you walked up the 5 staircase to, and you would sit in these private little rooms with doors, and they would bring in champagne, and they had TVs and, of course, camera in every room.
Of course.
And once it cost a lot of money to get in the VIP rooms upstairs. But mostly it was a lot of Asian guys, because Asian corporations were very big back then. But
we heard stories.
No, this was a really, when we say it was a huge club, they would send out limos to pick up their clientele.
I believe it.
They would pick you up from any hotel you were at, and they would send a Go Club limo to come and pick you up. And the girls that were in the limo were not the girls that were in the club. They were only in the limo. You had to work your way up to club.
But that's the type of money that it was. But that was a high. See, this is the thing that a lot of heads don't understand. And for all of our,
yeah, you made about $5,000 a night.
Yeah, and I mean, but that's
you made about $5,000 a night.
Yeah, that's a high end club. So I mean, there's a difference between for our listeners out there, for all of our for all the homies in the hood and everything, y'all know whether you at a hole in the wall or you at a high end strip club. I mean, if you're at a high end strip club, that's what it is. We just break it down.
But
that's
why
how
we talk about that back then, the purple. Okay, so we all talk about Magic City, right?
Right.
Everybody knows Magic City, but do you all remember the Purple Onion?
We don't know about the Purple Onion.
The Purple Onion was first. The Purple Onion was first. And then the Magic City was there, but it wasn't as big as the Purple Onion. And then the Purple Onion got closed, and Magic City got huge, and that's when all the rappers started going. And any black girl could work there, because not any black girl, they did not allow black girls to work at the Go Club unless you looked a certain way. You had to pretty much look like Jessica Rabbit to work there, or you had to be so light-skinned you look white.
Right.
So
but I think
a lot of clubs in Atlanta at the time were like that.
But that's why Magic City in the hood, that's why it became a big thing, because that was like the first strip club. And I believe also too they ended up trademarking that name, because out here in this area we had a club called Magic City, and I think they got in.
That was the first club I was ever at. That was the first club I ever worked at, Magic City. Yeah,
and I think they actually have a patent on that nickname. Yeah, I think they actually have a patent on that name for their establishment, to the point that the club out in this area, they had to change their name, because it was like, they told them, like, nah, we had it first. Y'all got to change it. So Magic City is like a brand. But my brother's 40, I'm 45, and we knew about Magic City. We heard stories going back to like 93, 94. And of
my
course,
money
in the
was
90s,
the Blue Flame, though. I wasn't really a Magic City girl. As much as every time I worked at a white club, I would go back to the Blue Flame, which is a little bit more ghetto than Magic City. But
yeah, I've heard about the Blue Flame.
You know about the Blue Flame, right?
Yeah, one of my homegirls stay down there.
So yeah, if you watch the movie about what is that movie that we were talking about earlier? That's
Players
the Blue
Club.
Flame.
Players Club.
Players Club was the Blue Flame, and that's where I learned how to dance. That was hard. Had to learn how to shake my ass and everything. But yeah, because you don't have to do that at white clubs. Yeah, it's a big difference.
I mean,
oh my gosh, so fun.
Man, look, and you know
to death. You thought you were going to ask me a million questions, and I talked you to death, didn't I?
Look, Boo, we are lucky to have you on as long as we have, because Blog Talk, we usually have these things running over.
They used to cut the plug on
Blog Talk can't cut us off. And I guess Blog Talk made it up to us but look, because we want to keep this momentum going for part 2. You're welcome back anytime you're ready to talk part 2, because we still got so much we want to get into. Sierra, we love you so much. Thank you for joining us. You are always welcome here. And we'll be in touch with you after the show. You need anything from us, you just hit either one of us. You know how to reach both of us. And for everybody listening out there, thank you so much for spending your evening with us. Much love. Thank you all.
This phone hanging on like it did. I'm sorry, this phone hanging on like it did.
Girl, you got everybody awake. Girl, you got everybody on overtime right now with this. You ain't put nobody to sleep. They on overtime. Look, they like on super overtime. They're like, look, and especially out here, Something in the Water Festival kicks off this weekend. Shout out to Pharrell and the city of Virginia Beach. Yeah, man.
What?
So
Wait a minute. Why am I not? Okay, how long is that going on? Should I drive out there?
It's going on till Sunday.
Oh, shoot. Oh, well. I was going to drive out there. I'll think about it. Okay.
Well, if you want to make that quick drive out here tomorrow, I mean, you'll get here a little later, but I mean, the beach, they're going to hold, the thing is, it was raining out here today, so they canceled like part of the first part of the performances.
Yeah, it's storming
but I think
here
they're
in
going
D.C., so.
Yeah, but see, they're going to, like, I guess they're going to go full tilt with it tomorrow. So it's still tomorrow and Sunday that they're going to do it. So but even then they're going to do it next year, God willing. We all here next year. I mean, you can come out here next year. I mean, shit, you can just come out here just because, I'm still here, Kings in North Carolina, if you make it down to North Carolina, so we not going nowhere, boo. Anytime you in our part of the area, where we're at, you hit one of us in a DM, and,
I'm all about a party, so.
Dinner
I'm always about a party.
You come down to Hampton Roads, dinner is on me. You come down to North Carolina,
we might have to fight
King
about
got
that.
you.
Okay.
I can eat.
Well, look. I'll take you to some of my spots out here. Thank you. And look, it took a minute, but things are just worth the wait in terms of the wonderful wisdom and enjoyment. This has been a tremendous treasure, one of our best shows we've ever done. You are instrumental in making this incredible.
Oh, yeah, part 2 and 3 incoming.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you too.
Thank you so much. King, take us out of here, bro.
First of all, we want to thank you for joining us. Thank everybody that tried to call in but couldn't get through and knocked our phone line out. But nevertheless, we still here. We thank you, Miss Sierra, for taking the time to join us. It was a great bill, even though I couldn't chime in like I wanted. But it's all good. We T-Max held it down like a T trooper, man. So we definitely got part 2 on the horizon. Anything that you need from us, we got you. And we'll be back here next Friday night, same time, same channel.
Peace. God bless. And much love to everybody out there. Thank you again. And we'll be doing it again next week. Y'all be safe. One love, y'all.
All right.
Out.